Well, hello, beautiful soul. How are you? You know, the first thing I like to do is check that you can hear me. So I'm just doing a sound check here. But hello, thank you so much for being here. If you are here watching the replay, thank you so much. You've gotten to the right place. There are going to be so many things that you can take away from this conversation today on change. That's the husband calling. And he always seems to call while I am doing these lives. So we're just going to tell him we're busy. We're going to wait for a couple of people to join before we get started. Um, let him know that. Okay, so sorry about that interruption. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Ignited Teachable Moment. Takeaways today, so many, right? I wanted to end this year on this series of change because who doesn't want to change? Well, let me rephrase that. If you're here, you're someone who absolutely wants to change. You understand that change is an extraordinary, amazing, and transformational thing, right? And you know that you don't want to be stuck where you are because at the levels you want to live, operate, love, experience, breathe, be, do business at, it's going to require next level change from you. And so you need to be open to the possibilities that come with change. And that's what we're going to be talking about today in Ignited Teachable Tuesday, our Ignited Teachable Moment. So, and just take a sip of our tea this week, guys. I have it's like a apple crisp something. I stole it from my daughter. It's delicious. So let me do my sound check because I want to make sure you can hear me. That's what I was doing when my husband called. So let's do our quick sound check. And what I do is I go on my phone and I bring up the link. And as long as I can hear myself here, I know we're good. So give me a second to do that. Okay, everything's happening, you guys. Everything is happening right now. Okay, good. We are live. The phone is ringing, but that business is just going to have to wait. Okay, that stopped. Now we can get started. See, that's what happens when you're live. See, when these are not live, you can edit everything and say, we're going to start right here. So if you're joining, thank you so much for being here. We are in our second part of a 4-part series on change, right? And I decided that we should do this now because we're in home stretch, right? 2018 is almost over. I don't know about you, but this year has been full of ups, downs, crazy, phenomenal tears, more tears, aggravation, but so much love and opportunity and new experiences, next level things, right? But that's life. It's just up and down and crazy. And when you are trying to live your best life, you are stepping out on faith. It does come with those ups and those downs. That is part of life, right? And the beauty of you stepping out on your faith is that you get to experience the ups and downs as opposed to wanting to be comfortable because you're scared of the valleys and the lows. But the lows and the valleys are absolutely necessary. What I know from 2018 is that in those valleys and those moments where I was afraid and scared and stuck, I learned and I got strong and I got resilient and I got creative. And from those moments, I was able to tap into my power, tap into the divine in me that allowed me to get the courage, get the strength, and get that divine holy boldness that allowed me to climb out of those valleys and experience my mountaintop experiences. You don't experience that when you're always at the top of the mountain, right? You don't need strength when you're at the top of the mountain. You just need eyes and, oh, look how beautiful this is. But when you're truly in situations where your faith is being tested, that's really where you gain strength. And I'll tell you, confidence comes out of those moments too, because once you realize you know how to navigate out of some valleys, let me tell you, when you're presented with the next thing, you're like, I'm good. I'm going to get out of this, right? And that's the beauty of growth. Growth allows you to tap into that power within you. And that's the beautiful thing about change and what we're going to talk about today, creativity. So if you happen to have the book, I will be teaching and we will be discussing and chatting today from A Life Ignited, Ignite Your Inner Fuse. And so if you have it and you just want to refer to it a little, I didn't take too much out of this because if you do have the book, then it'd be useless for us to kind of go through this. But pages 22 through 26 are our pages on creativity and change. So if you have the book, feel free to use that as a reference during our time together. Now, what I want you to do before we start, I just want you to kind of take a deep breath, close your eyes, just kind of breathe in and breathe out, and kind of bring yourself to this space. I know a lot of times we're just scrolling when we come across these types of videos, or you may have seen the notification about this live and you joined, or you're watching the replay, however you are here. I'm pretty certain there's a bunch of stuff going on around you right now. But even in that, I just want you to settle into this space and allow yourself the vulnerability and the attention required for you to really hear the message that I believe is embedded in this live chat today for you. And again, if you're watching the replay, you didn't stumble across this by accident. You're here because there's something here for you. And so breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and allow yourself the opportunity and the privilege to receive whatever's here for you. I don't know what that's going to be for you, but I'm always blessed from these, even though I'm kind of facilitating them. And so I want you to experience the blessing that is unique, that has your name on it here in this session we have today. So we're going to be talking about the 4 C's of change. Again, there are 4 C's. Last week, we talked about commitment, right? And the importance of commitment, because change is a process, right? Change does not happen overnight. The caterpillar does not turn into the butterfly overnight. The flowers, when you plant your seeds in the spring, they don't bloom the next day. While you're looking at dirt and it looks like nothing's going on and it looks like it's just dirt, believe that under the soil there are processes taking place. There are things happening, nutrients being embedded. Those seeds are opening up and they are sprouting, and eventually they break through that soil. But that does not happen overnight. Now, sometimes if you're like me, you're like, these flowers aren't growing, and then you go mess with it, or you get irritated and frustrated because you're not being patient, right? Commitment requires patience. And because you're not being patient, what happens, right? You mess up the process. And so we talked last week about that. So that's here on my channel, part 1, the 4 C's of change. So definitely go back and watch that video. And so now we're just continuing with part 2. And part 2 is all about creativity, right? The creativity in change. You cannot have change without creativity. And so let's jump right in this week's lesson. Let me just have another sip of my tea. I always wait to the end and then it's cold, and that's okay. I don't mind drinking it cold, but it tastes so much better when it's warm. And it helps so I'm not scratchy by the end of this as well. See, there's a madness to ignited teachable moment tea, so I can keep my throat la 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 la. Okay, all right. So, creativity. So, we're going to talk about what the definition is. I like to, if you're on these, then one thing you know is that I go through a lot of definitions, and some of them I kind of, mess around with a bit just for the purpose of our conversation. But I think it's important, and this is a takeaway from you with regard to communication. It's very important that everyone be on the same page, right? So if I use a word and in your mind you have a thought about that, or I use a concept, and then I start talking, you may feel like, well, I didn't get anything from that because your idea of that thing was very different from mine. So every time I start an ignited teachable moment, I like to start making sure we are on the same page. So any words that will be used, over and over again in repetition, I absolutely want to make sure we're on the same page with that. So creativity, you guys. Now, one thing you'll hear me say all the time is that I have courses on my website. I use a lot of marketing text that says, create a life that feels so good and sets your soul on fire. Create, right? Because I believe that the life you desire is a creation process. So, what is create and what is creativity? So, creativity uh, is a phenomenon. I got this from Wiki. Is a phenomenon whereby something new and something valuable is formed. The created item may be intangible, such as an idea, scientific theory, music or joke, or a physical object, an invention, a literary work, hello, music, a painting, a drawing, something like that. But here, two words. Here in this definition, there are two words that sum it up. Okay? Creativity is a phenomenon whereby something new and something valuable is formed. New formation. Okay? Formed is a verb, and that tells us that there is some action. So, to make this plain for you, creativity is new action. Okay? It's when you understand that in order to make the changes, in order to get the fitness, the health, the wellness, the relationship goals, the raise, to write the book, to finish the project, to get unstuck, it will require you to take new action. Okay, new action. And when you are in your stuckness, when you are in your brokenness, when you are feeling frustrated, when your faith is being tested, honey, you weary, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't take this. I want you to get up out of that. And I want you to ask yourself, what is the next new action I can take? Because whatever I've been doing is not serving me. It's not getting me to my next level. It's not pushing me. It's not growing me, right? So, what new thing do I need to do, take action on to move out of this place? Okay, so that is why creativity is so important to the change process. The caterpillar takes new form, the seed takes new form. A building being built, right? First, you just have some cement poured, but ultimately it takes new form and you have a foundation to a new building. Anything that goes from one thing to another goes through a creativity creation process where something old gets transformed into something new. You are going to have to use creativity in order to move from where you are now to where you've been divinely called to be, to serve, and to do your best work. Okay. I also want you to think about creativity in the sense that that's a broad sense, but let's bring it down into like real life practical terms, right? I'm going to jump right into, I was going to save this for later, but I'm going to jump right into when we tell ourselves we don't have time or we're too busy. If you know me personally and you want to like sever our friendship, just tell me you don't have time or you're too busy. Not so much for me. I'm not talking about that. But oh, I didn't do this because I don't have time. I'm too busy. Like, what does that even mean? Right? Because really none of us have enough time, right? There's only but so much time in a day. And we all are visionary, purpose driven, success centric goal getters who have things to do in the day. We all have families, obligations, kids, work, we volunteer, we do all these things, right? So when someone says I don't have time, I just don't get it, right? Because I mean, I don't either, right? Neither does Beyonce. I mean, but stuff's happening despite the only having 24 hours in a day. But what I think is happening is that it's not that you don't have time. It's that you have not taken new action. You have not looked for a way to do something new and different with your time that allows you to free up time to do these other things you want to do. I was recently at a party for a friend's husband, and there was a woman there, bright, brilliant. She's like the director of like emotional intelligence or something for a really big tech company, like national conglomerate, like super duper fancy. Okay. And my point is, this woman's brilliant. She's smart. She's well liked. She's influential. And she knows all of these things, and she knows she's brilliant, and she knows she brings a lot to the table. And at one point, we're talking, and it comes up that I'm an entrepreneur, and she says, I want to do what you did. I want to take my expertise and I want to go into business for myself. She says, but I don't have time. And I said, I think you do have time. Now, I don't know her very well, but whenever someone tells me I don't have time, I'm going to always say, I think you do have time. And she's like, no, I don't have time. I said, well, here's the thing. Now, this woman happens to be president of a board, a very well-known board, and it's a very busy board. And they do a lot of things, and they help the community, and they help women. And I said, you're on this board, and you spend a lot of time doing board activities. Yeah, but okay, another objection. Yeah, but I have committee members and I have other directors. No, 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 no. You are on a board that requires a lot of your time. So she says, that's true. So you do have time. You're here at a party. Now, in these moments, I'm not suggesting that you exchange one for the other, but you're here. You're not working, which means you do have time. Earlier in the conversation, we talked about you being in a relationship. You have time for the relationship. I'm not suggesting you not be in a relationship so that you can pursue being an entrepreneur. But what I am suggesting is that there are ways that we can make time in our day, despite the things that we do, so that we make space for the things we really, really want to do. I know for me, writing this book, at one point I was just like, and it's a short read. It's super powerful. It's like a power packed easy read, and I wanted it to be easy. I didn't want people to get halfway through and, like, I've done some books and not read it because it was too long or it was just too much to it. But I had a point where, I was just not getting this book done. I was like, what is going on? And I had to look at how I was spending my time. And I'm thinking, well, I've got two kids and they're both active, and I've got to go to gymnastics practice with my daughter 3 days a week. And then my son's got this, and there's piano and there's guitar. And how am I going to get this done? Well, what I realized is I had to take a look at my day and see where I had pockets of opportunity for new action. So after really looking and searching and being honest and authentic about what I wanted and what I was doing with my time, I realized that I did have time. A couple of those nights when I was sitting waiting for my daughter at gymnastics, guess what? I didn't have to talk to the other parents. I have stuff to do. Maybe they do or don't, not my concern. But guess what I did a couple nights a week? Went to the library. There was a beautiful lake down the street from the gym. So in the spring, when the weather was good, I would go down there. They had a gorgeous gazebo and it had Wi-Fi down there. I would go and I would write. And even if I only wrote for 15 minutes because I got sidetracked, it was so beautiful, or I wrote for 2 hours, I devoted that time to this book, and it eventually got done. So you do have time. You do have the bandwidth and you have the space. What creativity requires you to do is look at your life and determine, where are there opportunities for me to take new action? Where can I do something different that will allow me to create the life I want, to create space to finish literary projects, the space to enjoy more downtime, the space to go to the spa, get a pedicure, hang out with my girlfriends more, hang out with the kids more, have a movie night. What can you do? Now, like we talked about last week, that's going to require a little bit of awareness, right? You have to look at your eyes, you have to look at your life with honest eyes and say, what am I doing with my time? And how can I free up space for these other things that have now become priorities to me? So, see, maybe before, something you wanted to do it, but it wasn't a priority. I think of health and wellness. Sometimes our doctor says, hey, blood pressure's a little high, work out a little bit, eat better. Okay, right? And then you don't do it. It wasn't really a priority. But now, because you didn't take care of yourself, you continued with the unhealthy habits and did not add healthy habits to combat the unhealthy habits. Now you're in a different space. So that thing that was just a recommendation has become a priority. Now you have to, with honest eyes, look at your life and determine, what new action can I take? Where can I free up time, space, resources, and energy so that this thing can get accomplished? but it's going to require new action from you. So the thing about change, right? If you want to change, then what you're saying is that stuckness is not an option, right? Stuckness is not an option. And I say this, I said this last week, I'm going to say it again. This whole process of change is all about you, right? How can you free up space? So, what can you do? It's not about other people. What do you need to do to create the life you desire, deserve, and crave? So I can think too, and I talk about this in the book. Being at a real estate office, as you know or may not know, I've had my real estate license for maybe 15 years now. I got it because me and my husband knew we wanted to get into real estate, be investors, flip, rent, and all of that, because we knew we wanted to leave our children something um, so that they could, have some sort of generational wealth or assets when they got older, because we know what it was like not having any assets, right? And starting from like zero, wanted to give them a head start. So I've had this license forever. And, so I've moved to different offices as over the 15 years, maybe three. So I got to this one, four. So in my third office, I was there. I thought I would love it. But what I found was that as technology changed, the people in the office didn't change. I'm like, hey, we have these forms and these zip forms and DocuSign, and well, no, we don't do that. We use the yellow paper and we need signature. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's so much technology that makes life better for our clients and then us, right? But there were so many processes they did not want to try because they were stuck in the old ways of doing things. They did not want to change. So being creative, that in that relationship and just been mad and miserable and then insulted people when you don't want to change, which I think is a really bad thing to do. If people want to stay stuck or they're fine with how something is, you may see it as broken, they may see it as beautiful and fine, and nothing needs to change. So I don't think you should insult people who don't want to change, right? It's about you. But if you're in a situation and you desire more and you crave next level experiences, and you know that you're not supposed to be in this mediocre situation and you don't want to settle, then you need to get out of it. You don't talk about the other people who are good with it. You get out, right? And so this is what I did in that real estate office. I was like, I have to go because I cannot stay here in a space where we're not willing to try new things, take new action, right? I wanted to elevate my experience. I wanted to elevate the experience of my clients, and I couldn't do that there. So, creativity of change will require you to take bold, courageous action as well. And so, on that note, let me talk about the benefits of creativity. Okay. Benefits of creativity, possibilities, right? When you open your mind to new things, you open up doors of possibilities. If you're someone who just says, oh, well, no, this is how we've always done it, this is how I do it, well, that's probably why you're stuck. That's probably why your team isn't happy. That's probably why people are leaving and quitting, because you're stuck in the old way you did it that isn't working, isn't productive, isn't progressive, isn't innovative, right? And it doesn't allow other people the ability to add value the way they know how. So being creative allows you to open possibilities. Again, when I was like, listen, I need to make space to write this book, I was able to write that book and get it done. And that book created long term possibilities for me as well. So open yourself up to the amazing new possibilities that are yours if you tap into your creativity as you are trying to make the changes you desire in your life. Creativity, again, potential. It's your potential to grow and to learn. So when you do things different, and sometimes I feel a little like, oh my gosh, I got to try this new thing. I'm on a board now. It's an awesome board, and we're looking at workplace to do project management with every director's individual task and projects that they're working on. And I'm like, no, I just want to go out and use Google Docs or Excel, right? Because I know that. But I also know that it's not fair to everyone else for me to be in some stuck state and say, no, no one has the potential to grow and learn something new because I'm comfortable with the old way, right? So it's potential to learn and then grow and feed the potential of those around you as well. Uh, Creativity allows you to get out of your unstuckness. A lot of times you're in the stuck place you're in the rut. And I call a rut, my acronym for rut is really uncomfortable time and place, really unproductive time and place, really unhealthy time and place. You're in that rut because you're in these patterns, right? And you don't always recognize the patterns because you're in them, right? So you don't really see how you systematically, consistently self-sabotage yourself or do the very same thing that gets you in the very same place every single time. So what being open to creativity, new action allows you to do is to peek over the fence. Get out of that pattern, peek over the fence. What's going on, right? Get out of that pattern. Get out of your stuckness. Get out of your rut and see what is available to you, possibilities and potential for growth and development. When you're creative, you get to shed dead weight, right? New action allows you to stop doing that thing that gets you nowhere. Take that off. Woo! Get that dead weight off. It doesn't work. It's not getting you anywhere. People are quitting and leaving. If you're a boss, you're a manager. 99% of people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses. When people leave boards, they don't leave the board because they didn't believe in the vision or the work. They quit because the leadership is horrible, right? So you want to shed dead weight again so that you can rise up, get above the fence, look around, and tap into all the possibilities and the potential for growth you have. And then creativity, the benefit of creativity is courage and confidence. It takes a lot of courage to try something new. My daughter recently started basketball, and I have to tell you, I am just so proud, right? Her first game, she was all over. You could tell that she did not really know the game. But let me tell you, she was playing with the heart of someone who's been playing for 13 years. She's 13. She played with so much confidence and she was so brave. And then she started getting really aggressive. And it made me so proud because new action requires courage. Some of us, at the core of why we don't tap into creative spaces is fear. It's fear of the unknown, a fear that we won't be good at it. We'll be exposed to be some failure, right? Which is absolutely the silliest, farthest thing from the truth. But we don't tap into being creative because we're afraid. But once you tap into something and say, I'm going to learn this new thing and I'm going to be vulnerable to the new experience, that takes courage. That is the most courageous and confident thing you can do. Step into something new and be vulnerable to the experience, be vulnerable to the growth, be vulnerable to not being the smartest person in the room, being vulnerable to learning, being vulnerable to leadership and teamwork and collaboration. That is the bravest, boldest, most amazing thing you can do. And at the core of that is creativity, taking new action, even when you're afraid, you're fearful, you don't know what the next step is going to be. That is the most courageous and confident thing you can do. And confidence comes from trying new things and learning and growing along the way and then getting really good at it. So then when the next thing comes that's unfamiliar to you, you don't have any problem going into that because you're like, been here before. I've been in places where I didn't know and I grew from them. I learned and I became a better wife, mother, leader, entrepreneur, philanthropist, board member, team member, employee, manager, CEO, executive, boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Whatever is important to you. At the core of all of that, you have to be willing to take new action without ego, being willing to shed dead weight, to rise above the fence, to get out of the patterns you're in, so that you can create a life, not just for you, but for those around you that feels so good and sets everybody's soul on fire. Yes. Okay. So we're down to 29 minutes, guys. We're doing good this week. I want to keep these at 30 minutes. So I want to give you some ignited action items, right? Because this isn't just me talking. I want you to leave here with practical, relatable, tangible things you can do to change the trajectory of your life, to change your story, to be committed to the process, and then be creative. New action so that you can become the butterfly, so that you can rise, so that you can soar, so that you can live and experience the life you desire, deserve, and crave. It is right there for your taking, but you have to be willing to commit to the process and take new action, even when it's scary, even when you feel vulnerable, even when you don't know what the hell you are doing, even when you feel like it's a lonely place, even when your faith is tested, when you feel weary. You take that new action anyway to move yourself one step closer to the results, the fulfillment, and the success you desire. So, your ignited action item. I want you to go out and I want you to just go onto Google and type in life wheel. You're going to get a bunch of images. Take one of those images, take a look at it. If you can't print it out or something like that, just write down the pieces of the wheel. There should be 8. Some of them have 10, but the wheel that I'm using has 8 parts of the wheel: physical environment, business and career, finances, health, family and friends, romance, personal growth, fun, and recreation. Okay. And then I want you to do these things. Okay. I want you to, on that life wheel, those 8 components, I want you to measure them. So from 1 to 10, fill in the bubble or the little piece of the pie. 1 being low fulfillment, 10 being, oh, I'm good in this area. So fun and recreation, right? I would give myself a 7. Right? It's not filled up, but I'm doing really good in fun and recreation. I'm just having a good time. I made some new friends and I've got some new mentors and some new relationships this year. I'm good. I'm really excited. I'm looking to build on to those relationships next year. And then, so maybe you have some 7s, and then again, your 1 would be your lowest. After you've gone through that, where you've measured the 8 areas, I want you to look at anything that's like a 5 or 6 or less. And I want you to think about what you want to change. So let's say that your finances and you gave it a 5, right? Obviously, you're kind of halfway where you want to be, or you gave it a 4, like, oh, what's going on here? I want you to start thinking about what you want and what needs to change, right? And as you're considering what needs to change, I want you to think about creative ways that you can change. What new actions can you take? And a lot of times, you know what you need to do, right? But not doing it is the more fun option, right? You need to save, you want to buy a new house, but the flat screen TV and the new Xbox and the new phone and getting hair done and the new car, that sounds much better, right? You need to save, and you really want your children to be educated in a place where they're going to learn and feel safe and grow. But this other stuff is way more fun. It's like the temporary quick fulfillment versus the working on the long-term process. Commitment, part 1, process, right? And taking new action, stepping out of the comfort zone and always doing the short-term thing and deciding to do the long-term thing. Hello, right? It's all coming full circle. But consider your new actions. Now, this isn't to say you're going to just jump right into new action. You're simply, again, doing a self-awareness exercise where you are looking at ways that you have control over that you could actually start doing today, right? But you're simply facing your truths through self-awareness, not beating yourself up, not saying, oh, I'm a bad person. Nope. But looking at your options and facing your truths. It's a beautiful thing. Growth starts with self-awareness. There can be nothing happening if you don't recognize where you need to change, what you need to change, and how you need to change. And change is a beautiful thing. Okay. So you're going to consider your creative ways, new action, mind, body, and spirit you can take to bump that number up, right? And fill in more of that life wheel to have more success, more fulfillment, more enjoyment, more confidence, more courage. Like, what will it take? Write that down. New action, because what you've been doing isn't working. So, what's the new action you can take? And then, if you are having a difficult time trying to figure that out, or you're looking and saying, man, I really need some support and accountability, because a lot of the reason you're not doing what you need to do is because you're not being held accountable. What you're doing is surrounding yourself around people who are doing exactly what you're doing, procrastinating on their purpose and their positioned for prosperity and abundance and success and happiness. You surrounded yourself with people like you because that's comfortable, because anything else will force you to look at the things you need to be doing. And since you're not ready to face that music, dance to that tune, right? It's easier just to surround yourself with other people who are living in that lack space as well. But what I'm going to challenge you today, my dear, beautiful, brilliant soul, is that you know better. You know that there is greatness in you. You know there is more that you can do. And I believe that with the right support system in place, you will be pushed in the most powerful and positive way to your destiny, to your appointed position of prosperity. So if you're finding this difficult, what I'm going to do now is share a link in the chat, and this will be available even for the replay viewers. And what you are going to do is just fill out this form and contact me through this form. And when you contact me through this form, just mention that you were on the live and you were going through this exercise, or at whatever point here you said, I think I want to talk to Rhonda more about this. Fill this out. This is an application to have a discovery call with me. I look at these, I determine, is this person like ready, willing, and able to truly have a deep dive conversation about what I could do to help them, move to the next level. So if you're ready for that step and you're like, I really need to talk to someone because I'm ready to look at what I can do for myself. I'm ready to invest time, resources, and energy into building me up. When you're ready to build up yourself, just fill out that form. If you're not ready, don't fill out that form, okay? My team and me, we don't have extra work to do, okay? So now I will tell you, this form is confidential. So the only one that sees that form is me. My team doesn't see that. So don't worry if you fill that form out, okay? So that's it, you guys, for this week. That is your ignited action item. Listen, new action, new action. Go get what you want. Go take it, snatch it, right? But it's going to require you to take new action. And you can do this. You can do this. Just break free of those patterns. Stick your neck over the fence. Let go of the toxic people, places, and things. You may love them. They may be some of your best friends, the funnest people. But if they are not helping you grow, elevate, evolve, rise, if they're not praying for you, pushing you, telling you can do it, holding you accountable, baby, it's time to let go. That tight grip. You don't have to let them go all the way, right? But just let go of that grip and allow yourself the opportunity to be surrounded by people who want what you want, who have what you want, and can help you get what you desire, deserve, and crave. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I honor you. I thank God for you. And until next time, be motivated, be inspired, continue to be a life ignited.